Joecelyn and beavers. Once upon a time there was a small downtown near a flowing creek. Joecelyn, a young girl who lived in the downtown area. Joecelyn loved exploring the creek and the animals that lived there, especially the busy beaver brothers Steve and Dave. Every day Joecelyn would wander down to the creek to watch Steve and Dave building their dams and lodges. She was fascinated by how hard the beavers worked to cut down trees and build their sturdy stick homes. The beavers would use their strong teeth to chop the trees into logs and branches, then haul them through the creek to arrange them just so to block the water flow. The other animals that lived by the creek didn't understand why the beavers were always working so tirelessly. "What a waste of time and energy," croaked Carl the frog. "Why go to all that trouble?" rebutted Dan the frog. The salamanders just shook their heads in disbelief at the amount of work the beavers were doing. Little trout and salmon fry laughed as they swam by the busy beavers. "Look at those silly beavers, so serious about building those pointless dams," giggled the fish. "If only they knew this creek and river will just wash it all away someday," chuckled the waterfowl as they landed in the flowing water. But Steve and Dave ignored the mocking and kept steadfastly working on their dams. They knew that even if the dams didn't last forever, they served an important purpose. Steve would explain, "We're creating these ponds and wetlands to provide safe habitat for us and many other animals. Just wait and see." Joecelyn admired the beavers' persistence. She wished she could be as focused and hard-working with her own projects. At school, her friend Lucy was always better at paying attention during class. And her friend Jamal could spend hours practicing his soccer skills without taking a break. "I want to learn how to be more diligent like Steve and Dave," Joecelyn thought. She decided to observe the beavers closely to see if she could discover the secret to their tireless work ethic. The next day at the creek, she watched as Steve gnawed at a towering fir tree. Chop by chop, he felled the massive tree and began breaking off branches with his teeth. Then Steve clutched a log in his sturdy tail and swam powerfully against the creek's current to get it into place for the dam. Dave was busy weaving sticks and reeds into an intricate lodge structure. He didn't stop until it was perfect, making sure every inch was tightly sealed. Joecelyn realized if she wanted to accomplish anything, she would need determination like Steve and Dave. Just then, Joecelyn's friend Lucy arrived at the creek. "Come on, let's catch frogs," said Lucy. "In a minute, I'm studying how hard the beavers work," replied Joecelyn. "I want to be able to focus like them." Lucy crouched down and watched the beavers too. "You're right, they just keep working no matter what. They don't get distracted like we do." The girls observed quietly for a while, impressed by the animals' relentless effort. Then they put their newfound focus into catching frogs, managing to nab 5 hoppy green ones. "Those beavers taught me to concentrate better," declared Joecelyn proudly. "Just like a nature lesson." From then on, she visited the beavers whenever she needed some motivation. Their dedication pushed her to persevere at whatever she was doing. Over the next week, Joecelyn applied her improved concentration skills in school. She diligently studied her spelling words each night until she could ace the test. And she stayed completely focused in math class to learn how to add big numbers in her head. "Wow, you've gotten really good at paying attention," remarked Jamal one day at recess after Joecelyn beat him at horse on the basketball court. "What's your secret?" Joecelyn told her friend about observing the hard-working beavers and how it taught her to block out distractions. "You should come watch them with me after school. It's the best way to learn concentration." So Joecelyn, Jamal, and Lucy visited the creek together one afternoon. Right away, the kids were amazed at the beavers' work ethic. They could see why Joecelyn found them inspiring. Dave was patching up a leak in the dam with more sticks while Steve starting building a smaller dam further downstream. "Look, they just keep making progress little by little on these huge projects," said Jamal. "I should be more like that with my soccer skills." The friends decided to incorporate the beavers' step-by-step diligence into their own hobbies. During every practice, Jamal focused on mastering one soccer move at a time instead of getting overwhelmed trying to learn everything at once. By improving incrementally, his skills grew tremendously. And Lucy, who loved science, conducted one careful experiment after another to deepen her knowledge. Instead of rushing through and making mistakes, she focused on doing each part methodically. Her patience paid off with excellent results. Whenever the kids needed some perseverance motivation, they would swing by the creek and watch Steve and Dave hard at work. The beavers didn't mind the occasional visitors, they just kept focused on their tasks. Thanks to the beavers' shining example, Joecelyn, Jamal, and Lucy accomplished more than they dreamed possible. Then one night a huge storm swept through the forest, bringing pounding rains. The downpour was so strong that the creek swelled over its banks and threatened to flood the whole downtown. Alarmed at the rising waters, Joecelyn rushed down to the creek. She was relieved to see that the beaver dams and ponds were protecting the downtown from the worst of the storm waters. The beavers' well-engineered dams were directing the overflow into their ponds and wetlands, spreading the raging creek into manageable channels. Joecelyn realized that without the industrious beavers' dams, the downtown would have been devastated by destructive flooding. As the rain ceased the next morning, all the animals gathered around the beaver ponds marveling at how well they had contained the flood waters. Carl and Dan the frogs croaked out an apology to Steve and Dave. "We shouldn't have doubted you, these wetlands are saving our homes." The salamanders nodded in gratitude. The little trout and salmon fry swam circles in the calm ponds. "Wow, we can safely grow up here thanks to your hard work." Even the ducks and herons had to admit the ponds created the perfect habitat for finding fish, frogs, and insects to eat. From then on, all the animals gained respect for the beavers and how their diligence provided housing, food, and sanctuary for so many creatures. And Joecelyn took that lesson to heart too. Whenever she had a big project for school that seemed hard, she would remember the beavers. "Just keep working like Steve and Dave," she told herself. "Your efforts might not seem worthwhile at first, but if you persevere, you'll accomplish something great." As the weeks went by, Joecelyn noticed the creek was becoming more polluted. Every day more trash like plastic bags and bottles got swept downstream. The waste cluttered the beavers' lodges and dams and made the water murky. Joecelyn was worried the garbage could really harm the beavers and other wildlife. She rounded up Jamal, Lucy, and their classmates Isabella, Henry, and Mateo. "We need to protect this creek and help the animals," Joecelyn told them. "Let's organize a clean-up crew." The kids made posters and told their families and neighbors about the upcoming creek cleanup day. That Saturday over 50 volunteers showed up ready to work. Joecelyn passed out gloves and trash bags while Jamal and Lucy explained where the worst garbage spots were. Everybody spread out along the creek, picking up every piece of trash in sight. They fished out plastic bottles, broken toys, old tires, and more. Henry and Mateo waded into the water to untangle debris from the beaver dams. By the end of the day, the creek was pristine again. "Thank you for saving our home," said Steve and Dave as they munched on a cottonwood branch. The rest of the animals celebrated too. The frogs croaked merrily now that their habitat was restored. Birds swooped down to grab twigs for nests without being obstructed by litter. "We couldn't have done it without our human friends," said Dave. He gave Joecelyn an affectionate pat with his tail. She grinned with pride at having made a difference. From then on, Joecelyn and her friends patrolled the creek often to keep it free of new trash. Their hard work paid off, the downtown stayed picture perfect. And the animals thrived in the unspoiled wetlands thanks to the kids' dedication. Steve and Dave continued engineering their dams flawlessly, ensuring pleasant pools for fishing and nesting. Generation after generation of beavers carried on the tradition of diligent dam builders, cared for by the watchful residents. Joecelyn grew up to become a wildlife conservationist so she could protect nature full-time. She credited the beavers for teaching her to work hard and make an impact. Joecelyn gave talks about Steve and Dave to inspire more people to care for the environment. The Beaver brothers' legacy lived on in the thriving creek. Their woodwork provided an enduring haven for plants and animals. And their perseverance continued motivating children like Joecelyn to make a difference. The beavers proved that dedication and hard work could create something wonderful. Whenever Joecelyn visited home, she'd always make a stop at the creek. Watching the beavers building and maintaining their flawless dams reminded her how persistence pays off. And seeing the abundant life in the wetlands reassured her that any amount of effort is worthwhile if it makes the world a bit better.